Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great morning. We're just out for our morning walk today. So we came down to this end. We haven't been walking down here. There was a few campers down and I didn't want to bust through their camp. There's some good dirt over here that we can walk. Today I'm going to come clean with a story that I've been carrying around for a long time. And because every time I think about it, it really bothers me. And you'll understand why when I tell you what happened. Recently, you've seen some clips that I've put in the videos showing, you know, what everybody thinks is a drone. You know, the shots, the camera following me on the bike and that kind of stuff. And if y'all were around, it was a couple of years ago, I talked about wanting to get a drone because there were some areas where we camped that I just couldn't capture the immensity of the area from the ground. What comes to mind especially is up in Colorado. When we were camped up there, you know, we would go out hiking and we're just in the middle of, you know, hillside after hillside and valley of pine trees and, you know, just really beautiful. What you think of when you think of a mountain setting, that's like what we were walking through. It was just so beautiful and so big. And then when I looked on the map where we were, it was just a small dot that you had to zoom way, way in on the map to see us. And it always got me like, man, it is so big out here. There you go. And that's what had me thinking about getting a drone. Now, you know, a good drone, well, a lot of you, you know, have commented. You all have like the DJI, and they have a whole series of drones. I got into looking at all the different models back, like I said, this is more than a couple years ago. So it's lost on me now what the different models were and all that, because I kind of put it behind me. And so to get the good features, it's something that'll follow me well, you know, that'll track track your phone or track GPS, whatever. They're expensive. They're not cheap. And I couldn't, yes, I could have bought one, but I couldn't rationalize the cost against what my other costs are. So, you know, $500-600 isn't the end of the world, but when you think $500-600 is like 2 full months of food and water for us. And so when you scale it like that, I couldn't bring myself to click the buy button, you know, because of that. Hold on, buddy. I gotta pause video. So back to my drone story. So what I did is I looked at companies that weren't like DJI. You know, DJI is not going to provide me with a drone. My YouTube channel is nowhere near big enough. And there's channels that specialize in drone photography, and they would be more apt to send one of their units to a channel like that. So I didn't even try contacting them. I contacted, like what I was finding was the better of the lesser known brands. And I got a response from one of the companies, and they gladly agreed to send me their, at the time, I don't know about now, but at the time it was their best model drone. And it sold came with 3 batteries, I think it was. And that was $500 they sold it for. So it was, you know, not cheap. That's money. and it had full GPS, 3-axis gimbal. The range on it was incredibly far. And they sent it to me. Beautiful, came in a nice hard case, and you pair it with the app on your phone. You can fly it from the screen on your phone. Had all the features I wanted: follow me and orbiting and bird's eye view. All of the features that I wanted, it had them. Now this was I'm going to say, as a drone newbie, now I did have that little play drone that Tara gave me, and I got pretty good at flying that around. And it was, I forget what she said, it cost like 25, 30 bucks. So I was never apprehensive about flying it around as a layperson, because, you know, worst case, if I smashed it or something, it wasn't a ton of money. And I got pretty good at flying that thing. This new one, and I'm not going to say company names or anything because that's not relevant to the story. This new one had like when you started it up to fly, you had to start the app, pair it to the app, then you had to do a calibration. You had to pick it up and, you know, like, I forget, hold it up, down, side to side, spin it around, and that was calibrating the gimbals, I guess. Then after you did that, then you could actually start the motors and fly the thing. So I realized that was a whole process. So I practiced that over and over to where I got pretty quick at it, you know, because you're using battery and that's flight time. And I got pretty quick at it, and I launched it a couple of times and went up and came back down. It had a home feature. You just hit the button and it landed back where you took off from. Really cool. Then we started traveling again, and was back in New York, and that was a couple of years back. We did a ton of work on the truck. So I had basically the whole entire truck, all my tools unloaded in the garage, all over the place. And when it was time to leave New York, come on, Lefty. We're getting real tight up in here. It was time to leave New York. We packed up, and I remember putting the drone. I tried storing it in a couple of different locations. I wanted it to be really secure. I didn't want it bouncing around in the truck. And then we hit the road. And I forget where this was, but we got to a location, and I said, oh, this is beautiful for the drone. So I go to unpack the drone and get it out, and the drone was gone. I couldn't find it. I tore my truck apart, you know, every cabinet, just basically going bonkers, trying to figure out what did I do? Because like I said, I can remember I tried it in this spot, in this cabinet, and I'm like, no, I'm going to move it to this one. So I immediately think that I left it back in New York. So I call my daughter up, and I'm a little frantic because you may have picked up over the years, but you know, I like things to be, everything has its place, everything in its place all the time, so that when you want to go to use it, it's right there, and you're not wasting a valuable part of your life trying to find something. So I was a little bit peed off. So I call my daughter. She goes over to the folks' house. She looks around. I send her a picture of what the case looks like and everything. She's like, Dad, I can't find it. She looks everywhere. So I, you know, again, I like tore the truck apart 3 times, just making sure that I'd looked everywhere. And never found it. Went back to New York for the next year, did my own search. It wasn't there. It was gone. It was gone. So if you picked up, this is a, you know, $500-ish drone that I flew for a total of 8 minutes, and then it went MIA. Yeah, I don't think it's down there, buddy. I hear you. So as I went back through my mind, like, what could have happened to this? You know, I've never, that I've known of, had any kind of robbery at my rig. Nothing has ever been disturbed or moved. And it's just this one item, you know, nothing else has ever been missing, just this one item. And to this day, I've never found that drone. And, you know, over the time that elapsed since then, you know, some of you would periodically ask, hey, what about the drone you said you got? And I just kind of would, you know, I didn't want to broach the topic because I was embarrassed that I was flaky enough to let a $500 gadget slip through my fingers and go missing. And the company was very understanding. I didn't ask them to send me another one. They understood what happened. Whether they believed me or not, I don't know. But I don't know why I would have made up a story like that was so disheartening. Here, let's go this way, pup. Let's go up and get on the road. So I've gone through so many scenarios in my mind about what could have happened to this thing, and I can't come up with anything. I cannot. I must have, like, I think I ended up packing it in my rear cabinet outside where all my tools are, and I must have gone in that cabinet to get something out and had to move it out of the way, and I set it somewhere and never put it back in. That's the only thing I can think of, that it was my fault entirely that this thing went missing. That's all I can think of. And I beat myself up so much over this over the last couple of years. So embarrassed and so frustrated because I never got to fly the thing and get any footage from it. I was in the middle of doing my FAA license for flying the drone, because you got to do that, and never got it to happen. So side-by-sides usually rip up and down the side of the road like this. So if I lost that drone, what have I been getting these clips with that I've had in some of the last few videos? And what I got is this HoverAir X1. This is a flying camera. It's not a drone. It has, you see those different symbols there next to the button? It has preset functions that it will do. Different than a drone that you can fly anywhere you want. This thing just does a preset number of functions. Now you can modify those functions a little bit as far as like how high is it flying, how far behind you is it following, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, this is a touch and go system. Different from the last drone I had that had that whole setup routine. I was flying this thing and getting beautiful shots and footage on the first day. And on the second day of using it, those are the shots where the bike, it was following me around on the motorcycle. And there was very small amount of learning required to get those shots. A bunch of you have made comments about the footage, and they're like, oh, you got your drone out, it looks awesome. And I've answered a few of the messages and said it's not a drone, it's the HoverAir X1, and it's not technically a drone. It's only 122 grams. It has a maximum of 15 feet, and I'm going to correct that on the screen if I'm wrong, as far as how high it goes. So it's not a free-flying item. It's always paired to the app on your phone, and that's how it tracks you. And it has good tracking. It can go up to 20 miles an hour following you. The only issue I ran into when I was on the motorcycle, if I took off too fast, it would lose me. And when that happens, it just stays there and hovers where it lost you. And I would turn around because I was watching it in my mirror. So I just turned around, went back to it, and as soon as we pulled back up to it, it reconnects and starts following me again. So it has good tracking. You know, I can't go 60 miles an hour with it following me, but I can get some really beautiful slow speed shots on the bike. And I'm imagining all the different locations where that would really come in handy and look beautiful. Well, thank you all for coming along on the walk and listening to me dump my story about the missing drone. So frustrated about that. So the HoverAir X1, I love that thing. They did send it to me, and I'm glad they contacted me and sent it to me, because I've been able to get some really cool shots, especially on the bike. I love the way that looks when it's just smoothly following me along like that. I love it. And super easy to start using. It has 6 programmed different functions that it can do. And like I mentioned, you can adjust some of the little features in each mode. You know, distance, elevation, which is just enough tinkering that it kind of satisfies that I want to fiddle with it, you know, to get some different shots. So if you're interested in an X1, you want to take a look at it, I'll put the info down in the video description. So super easy to use. I got 2 batteries with it. Each battery gives you 11 minutes of flight time, you know, depending on how hard the wind is blowing and how fast you're moving and things like that. But I was able to take it in my pocket on the motorcycle, ride way out on the trails. I've got my phone mounted to the handlebar of the bike, so I launched the app, I pulled it out of my pocket, hit the button, and took off riding, and the thing just followed right along. It was super simple. Because it's so little, I just put it inside my jacket pocket. So check out down in the description if you want to go look at one. They've got a December sale going on right now. There'll be a link down there. Thanks again for listening to me dump my burden of the drone. Everybody take care, be safe. We'll see you again real soon. And if you got a drone, make sure you know where it is. Don't be like me. Lefty's tried to jump up and grab the HoverAir out of the air a couple of times, so he's finally gotten used to it. Okay, we're gonna take a little spin around the camp here. Up in here, there's some nice camps.